when I joined the workforce, I was under this delusional impression that my manager was going to manage my career. I joined the workforce in the late 80s, and I thought, okay, you go to work, and your boss sort of knows what he wants to do with you, and you'll have this career path, and you'll get promoted, and didn't really know how it worked. About a year in, I realized that wasn't the case, but I have to say it was a bit of a shock. I didn't know what my options were, so I went with what I think most of us do. Is once I got bored, I decided I was going to start looking outside. It seemed that the logical thing was there are no positions inside that interested me, therefore I have to look outside. So I think, like a lot of Gen Xers, which is my age cohort, I hopped around. I spent 2 years here, 3 years there, jumping from job to job and increasing my scope and influence and all of those kinds of good things. But by the time I hit my early 30s, I joined a firm, and I really liked the firm. I didn't want to leave. So I hit that 2-year window. For me, it seemed to be every 2 years. I had a pattern. I'd start getting bored. And I was fortunate. I went to my boss and I said, you know what? I really love it here, but this job is, for some reason, stressing me out. I'm too stretched. I'm not enjoying it, but I love the company. And I'd love to figure out how to stay, but I don't see a role for me, because it was quite a small, it was a mid-sized consulting firm. And he said, well, as a matter of fact, we have this career management thing. Why don't you test it for us and see how it works? And it was probably it was such a pivotal moment for me for a couple of reasons. One, that, I actually had a chance to work through my own thinking around what was really bugging me with my current job, what were my strengths, what could I contribute, how could I be a part of this organization. So I got to do that. But the second thing I realized was how there were other jobs that I had left which I actually could have stayed at if I'd had a different conversation with my supervisor. But the thing was, I didn't know how to have that conversation, because I don't know about any of the people watching this video right now, but for me, that wasn't something I was taught in school. It wasn't something that people shared with me, how to have a career management discussion. So what I learned was, we have to be equally proactive today in our own careers. You can't rely on your manager to guide it for you, but also don't make assumptions. Don't assume that because you don't see a job available in your organization that there isn't something that can be created for you. In my case, after I went through this career process, came out the other end, and I sat down with my boss and I said to him, I've really realized that I need a role that's got a lot more scope. At the time, I was head of sales. I really hated being between head of consulting and head of marketing, because in previous jobs, I'd had full scope. This was a big aha for me. I didn't realize that autonomy was so crucial for myself and my job satisfaction. And yet, I couldn't see any positions that were at all like that in the firm. And he said, well, let me go away and think about it. And he came back with 3 options that were totally new, and one of which that would allow me to be a managing partner of one of the smaller lines of business, which was perfect for me. And it allowed me to extend that employee relationship for another 6 years past that 2-year mark, which for me, I used to say it was like dog years. Where was my gold watch? And so what I took away from that is, when you know how you can contribute, but you're not sure how the organization can use that contribution, having the conversation, there's nothing to lose. And especially if you've got the track record and you've been doing a good job and you've been delivering results, is always my caveat. You have to have been doing a good job. But not to be afraid to have those conversations with your boss, to see what's going on and be open to possibilities, and be open to putting out suggestions where maybe they can come up with something that you haven't seen and that hasn't been on the books.